enough. But what's going to be even more scrumptious is this matchup that we have for round 5.
For that, and we'll see soon enough what SableyeVGC is going to bring to the table, while we pretty know at that point what Matt is currently using.
Definitely. And SableyeVGC is a good friend of ours, so it's pretty awesome seeing two friends go against each other in a tournament setting because there is a competitiveness to it. But I find an extra layer is added when you go up against a friend so that you can have bragging rights at the end of it. You know what I mean?
Exactly, and normally I don't know what are the records, but who has the upper hand normally between these two?
See, I have a personal bias since Tid is one of our own, so I'm kind of hoping for him to come out with the win. But SableyeVGC is a fantastic player and also one that has been getting better throughout the years. So we'll see what happens.
And both similar teams in sense with Zacian, Kyogre, Rillaboom, and Incineroar. It's kind of interesting what these guys brought and to see what they'll be able to do.
Yeah, the difference makers from both teams is that Sableye's Prankster user is Grimmsnarl versus Matt's Whimsicott. And you could say that Zapdos is the Tailwind setter for Sableye's team. Even though it's not a Prankster user for Tailwind, it is bulky enough and can also hit hard as well. So it fulfills both roles on that team for Sableye's team.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised for Hit to have like a Rocky Helmet or just to try to do damage on the opponent as well.
Yeah, sometimes Zapdos Pokemon are known to hold Life Orb as well when they're used as Dynamax Pokemon. So we'll find out soon once the leads are brought in, as they are pretty shortly. From Sableye's end, we're going to get a lead of Grimmsnarl and Kyogre. So the Prankster lead with a heavy offensive Pokemon in Kyogre. And from Matt's side, we're going to get Whimsicott and Zacian. So, Martin, your opinion on these leads so far?
Honestly, I think it's an even match because you have a strong physical attack, speedy Pokemon on Matt's side, and you have a strong special attacker on Sableye's side, both Pranksters. So it's an interesting matchup. What do you think?
I think Whimsicott has a slight edge being able to use Prankster Tailwind, but if that Grimmsnarl is carrying Fake Out, that's something that can disrupt Matt's play because that means Kyogre, if it's max speed, might go, and if it's holding Choice Scarf, might go first. But Grimmsnarl decides to go for Reflect instead, trying to give some longevity to both itself and Kyogre versus that Zacian. Zacian with the Behemoth Blade, presumably targeting the Kyogre slot. We'll find out shortly. No, the Grimmsnarl slot.
Yeah, the Grimmsnarl.
For the super effective damage. Gets rid of the Prankster user on Sableye's side of the field, guaranteeing Whimsicott to be the Prankster user Pokemon. And Whimsicott going to use a Moonblast, getting some damage on the Kyogre. So if it did use a Water Spout, it would be reduced damage. And here it comes, Water Spout into rain. A significant amount of damage, but not enough to get the kill.
Do you think the Moonblast mattered?
I believe so. Whimsicott would have survived with the Focus Sash, but I believe the Moonblast might have made a difference for the Zacian there. But Incineroar coming in, really going to remove that +1 attack boost from the Intrepid Sword from the Zacian and also threaten it with a Fair Blitz, or even if he wants, Fake Out it to ensure Kyogre getting another Water Spout through. What do you do if you're Matt here?
Honestly, try to do as much damage to Kyogre as possible with Zacian while it's still alive, just to make sure Water Spout doesn't do much damage. But that's me. What would you do?
I would do the same thing, try to go for double damage, but it seems like Matt's going to go for defensive play here. The Protect is going to protect it from any potential Fake Outs, which was actually into the Whimsicott slot.
And your Origin Pulse, try to go for both Pokemon.
And it gets the hit on the Whimsicott. Origin Pulse known to be a somewhat inaccurate move at times, and unfortunately it does its job here for Matt. Gets the KO on the Whimsicott. Which obviously at its low health would have happened either way. But that also reveals the fact that Kyogre is neither Specs nor Scarf. I mean, I know Mystic Water is a very, very, very common item for Kyogres to be using nowadays, but it's also a very versatile Pokemon that can use almost any set it wants.
Especially in the rain like that. It's a versatile Pokemon. It could be bulky as well, like days in the Aura's days. It could be bulky as well, so it's very full of surprises.
I agree, and it's hard to sometimes judge more or less whenever you go up against one. So Matt's going to go Dynamax here. We saw that he double targeted into the Incineroar slot. So let's see if it actually goes through or a swap happens there. I like that idea of targeting the Incineroar slot because Thundurus can easily soak up any potential Water Spouts or Origin Pulses. And Zacian will manage to get an attack through before it dies since it is faster than the Kyogre. So let's see what happens. Oh!
Or Dynamax as well.
I believe it should be on the Kyogre spot, is it not?
Let's see. Indeed.
Yeah, so Dynamax in a Kyogre spot, trying to get maximized damage from its Origin Pulse, trying to make it more accurate, obviously, because Dynamax moves cannot miss, unless it's type with disadvantage. But Zacian's going to go first with the Sacred Sword, being the fastest Pokemon in the field. Doing a decent amount of damage, not as much as Matt probably would have hoped, but still doing a good chunk. And the Max Lightning gets the KO.
With a crit.
Do you think maybe the crit mattered here?
Probably because the reflect, like definitely the crit mattered on that.
Yes, I forgot the reflect was set up by the Grimmsnarl. I was thinking light screen. Good read on that, Martin.
Thank you. And yeah, like your read was good as well. Zacian was the target of the Geyser.
Yeah, so both trainers getting KOs in this turn. Sableye losing his Incineroar, whereas Matt losing his Zacian. If I'm Sableye, I'd rather lose an Incineroar versus a Zacian, especially now that you have both Kyogre and Zacian on the field, and Zacian potentially being the fastest Mon. But we do have a Rillaboom.
And we do have a Grassy Glide that could happen on the Kyogre.
Indeed. Kyogre is Dynamax, so might survive a Grassy Glide. So if you're Sableye, do you try to take advantage of that fact and try to go for the KO on the Rillaboom?
Maybe, yeah. If he managed to do it, that would be great. With the Behemoth Blade on the Thundurus, probably.
Let's see. Behemoth Blade doing double damage to a Thundurus. It lives. Max air
and the speed boost.
Not doing as much damage as Matt would have hoped, but it does increase the speed of both Rillaboom and Thundurus, which might be crucial on the next turn. Woodhammer coming through. Oh! A significant amount of damage, but not enough. And the Max Geyser, in retaliation, going into the Thundurus slot, should pick up the KO here. And it does.
Yeah.
Now this leaves Matt with some hard decision making, because I believe that Rillaboom is his last Mon, and he's faced against a 2v1 situation.
If he managed to pull off the Grassy Glide on Kyogre, it'll be the best play. But like you said, well, Protect or Max Guard is still an issue here.
I totally agree, and it seems like it's not. So the Grassy guy going through, getting to pick up the KO on the Kyogre. Maybe Kyogre does not have Protect as an option. Maybe not. We'll see. Or maybe Sableye just wanted to go for double damage just to guarantee the victory. Behemoth Blade coming through here. Picks up the KO on the Rillaboom, and that should seal game one for SableyeVGC.
And what are your thoughts on that match? Like, is there something that surprised you? Yeah. What are your impressions?
The turn one did not go as I expected. I honestly expected, possibly both like the Grimmsnarl going for a fake out, but it went for a Reflect instead, which we saw was a difference maker because it mitigated the damage from the Max Airstream from Thundurus, and also dealt with the Zacian damage output. My thoughts were that both players. I don't think any Pokemon were wrongly selected. I think they were both properly selected. It was just, I think overall, naturally, Sableye had the better setup versus Matt's setup.
Yeah, even though Matt's start is strong, like Sableye was managed to try to come around it with Zacian at the end.
Indeed, keeping your heavy hitters for the, let's say, the end game, which is usually a good strat in Pokemon because sometimes you think your opponent has their best Pokemon going forward, But if you're able to soak up their Dynamax turns with very defensive Pokemon, and you come out with your defensive hitters, the heavy hitters on their defensive Mons, it could really help you win the game super easily. So Matt's really second guessing his choices here. Can it be a sign of unknown for him? Maybe he doesn't know exactly what to do.
He's trying to use the hidden power of the unknown to try to win the next round.
Ew.
Woo!
But
exactly.
I believe Sableye will go with the same lead. Like, as we always said before, if it's not broken, don't fix it. But who's to say if he changes it up? Let's see. As both trainers are about to send out their lead Pokemon, we have Sableye sending out Zacian and Grimmsnarl. So it is a slightly different lead from game one.
We still have Grimmsnarl in the lead. But Matt is going really offensive with Kyogre and Thundurus.
Indeed. And now, if you're Sableye, both Pokemon are potential Dynamax Pokemon. So if you do have the Fake Out on the Grimmsnarl, what do you do? Do you just try to risk the Fake Out, or do you just go for the, let's say, the obvious and go for the Reflect setup?
I think at that point, Reflect will be a better choice since it helped him a lot in the past match. But that's my thinking of it. What do you think?
I totally agree. I'm quite surprised though that Matt went for the Scald. If it was me, and this is me talking personally, I would have probably went for the Protect on a Kyogre so I can get the +1 speed boost to potentially outspeed the Zacian to do Water Spout attacks. But maybe Matt knows something with Calcs that we don't know. Because once again, we don't have the team sheets in front of us, so we can't make those type of assumptions anyways.
Yeah, but I totally agree with you. I think the Protect would have been a safer choice. But at the same time, yeah, the Behemoth Blade.
Going into the Thundurus slot.
Yeah.
So Sableye read that fairly well, gets a good 2/3 of damage onto the Thundurus slot. Thundurus with the max Airstream going into the Grimmsnarl slot. Because of lights, well, mind you, it's a physical attacker, so Light Screen wouldn't have made much of a difference for that. But it does increase the speed of both Kyogre and itself, which may be crucial because now Kyogre might be either faster than Zacian or Thundurus.
Burn.
What a burn! Sorry, no, Matt, that was very big, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, definitely. He needs a burn heal right now because Zacian lost a bit of his utility right there.
Yeah, Martin, I do agree. He should probably get a burn heal. Somebody, is Ashton Kutcher around? Because he just got burned. No, I'm just kidding. That's my pun of the day. Grimmsnarl doing its job, setting up the Reflect. Having both screens up are very key for Sableye in this matchup. Max Knuckle coming through to get the attack boost on the Thundurus to give itself more strength. It is
enough for the kill.
Nope, it wouldn't. And Zacian should get the kill here if it attacks next. Oh, Kyogre Water Spout. Does it get the kill on both Pokemon? And it does!
Wow.
I honestly did not believe the +1 speed boost to the Kyogre would have been enough to outspeed the Zacian, but it was.
He's probably, I don't know, but my speculation is that he's timid probably, so that way he gets the full speed of it.
I don't disagree with you on that. I know that Zacian was burnt, but maybe it still would have been enough because of the double damage on Behemoth Blade to get the kill on the Thundurus. But now Incineroar coming in, proccing up that Thundurus. It already has a +1 attack boost. Now it goes up to +2. Not looking good for Sableye in this game.
No, and especially since Water Spout can do serious damage Incineroar into rain, and that Matt could use Max Lightning to take down Kyogre.
Yeah, and let's not forget also, Incineroar does have access to Fake Out, so if Kyogre decides to Dynamax and go for Max Lightning into the other Kyogre slot, he could potentially spell Doom for Matt. But then again, Thundurus is on the field and it is a threat. We'll see what happens this turn. Might be a crucial turn for both players. Incineroar Dynamax!
It's Big Kitty, you were right.
Actually, I was saying Kyogre to be Dynamax.
Oh, sorry, my bad. I thought you were saying Incineroar was going to Dynamax.
No, I expected Kyogre, but interesting. We got a big cat here. Max Lightning going on the Kyogre, getting the KO. Pretty obvious play. But let's see what this Incineroar does. Why do I get a feeling it's gonna do like a max strike attack to lower the speed?
Not even. Oh, Water Spout wasn't enough.
Max Darkness to lower the special defense of both Pokemon, goes on to Thundurus, picks up the KO, lowers the special defense of the Kyogre, but at its low health, I don't think it survives another Water Spout attack from that Kyogre.
No, especially when Kyogre is faster because of Max Air Stream.
And also the fact that Matt has access to 2 other Pokemon ready to go.
True that.
So, do you think maybe this game, the reason why it ended up being so, was either the fault of Ryan for changing up his lead, or maybe for Matt for adjusting fairly well?
Adaptability is the key again. I think he knows how to adapt really fast against his opponent and try to find a different strategy. So, yeah. What do you think?
If it were up to me, I think maybe Sableye's lead was a little too risky. I wasn't. Then, like I said, if it's not broken, don't fix it. Changed up his lead, which probably worked out more into Matt's favor. And now you kind of start second guessing, like, do I go with the same lead once again, or shall I just change it up to a newer lead? Grimmsnarl is always a great choice to start off with because you do want to set up both screens ASAP. But who's the Mon that you would put next to him, though?
Depends. Like, against Matt, probably someone who can use moves that can either deal with Thundurus, because Matt tends to lead with it, or honestly, I'd go with Zapdos at that point. I don't know what you're thinking with Ryan's team.
No, I like that because there's no natural counter to Thundurus on Ryan's team. And Zapdos at least can somewhat wall the Thundurus, considering the attacks that it carries that Ryan saw were fighting, flying, and electric attacks, which Zapdos resists all 3. So that might actually be a great call. But what would it hit it back with? You know, does Zapdos carry Ancient Power for a max Rockfall?
Maybe. That will be actually a very good thing to try, especially considering that so many Pokemon that are, well, few of them that are weak to rock.
Yeah, and because I do know that I believe Moltres carries Ancient Power, so I wouldn't be surprised if the other legendary birds carry Ancient Power. But this is us just metagaming and thinking out loud. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to start Game 3 here between SableyeVGC and Tiddvicious, as you can see on the screen. Wait to see what the lead Pokemon are as we load in here. Kyogre and Grimmsnarl from SableyeVGC's side, and from Matt's side, we're going to be getting Thundurus and Kyogre.
Well, you'll listen to you, Johnny, and like, if it's not broken, don't fix it.
Yeah, and it's the same lead as Game 2.
Yep. Also, to answer your question about Zapdos, yes, it learns Ancient Power at 20.
See, that might be an interesting tech for Zapdos users to carry.
Yep, definitely.
Because even outside of Dynamax, if you get the low roll, you get yourself some stats boost from it too. So, be interesting for coverage and whatnot.
Yeah. I miss the days where we could use like Rotom with Psych Up and just try to copy the stat changes of one Pokemon.
Yeah, or just use basically the Togekiss. What's the ability that increases your chances of things happening, like flinches and whatnot? Serene Grace, just Serene Grace Togekiss, and then just, you know, like, I think one of my favorite teams during the Sword and Shield era at the start of it was when Gigantamax Pikachu became a thing, and people were using that with Flinch Kiss, with Air Slash and Double Paralysis. That was a good time. But enough.
It was so good.
Yeah, enough reminiscing though. Back to the game. Grimmsnarl with a Thunder Wave, paralyzing the Kyogre. Electro Web from the Thundurus, getting the speed reduction of both the Grimmsnarl and the Kyogre on Ryan's side of the field. Max Geyser.
Oh, wow.
Very, very big live for Thundurus, and the Water Spout coming from Matt's side works. Kyogre pushes through the paralysis and gets the Water Spout on both Pokemon, knocking out the Grimmsnarl. And this is interesting because Ryan did not have a chance to set up screens.
Yeah. Maybe the Paralyze will like pay off later on, but for that first turn. I think that's really dope that Matt managed to like down their speed and try to work around it.
Yeah,
And kill Grimstone as well.
Yeah, you're completely right. Getting Grimstone off the field, I think was very good by Matt, and it might so happen that the paralysis will come into play soon.
Yeah, let's just hope that it won't, but then again, we'll see.
Behemoth Blade getting about half health damage on the Kyogre. Thunderous with the Electro Web continue to reduce the speed of both Pokemon on Ryan's side of the field. Kyogre on his side of the field now has a -2 speed drop, and Zacian with a -1 speed drop, which could be a factor later on. Kyogre keeps on pushing through the paralysis, getting scalded on the Zacian, doing a significant amount of damage.
This time no burn though. Oh, Max Lightning on Kyogre.
Ryan's Kyogre showing why it's the bigger Orca versus the smaller one, ensuring the KO and showing it that he's the Kyogre that deserves to be on the field. So now, if you're Tid, what do you bring out here?
That's a tough question. I mean, maybe Rillaboom because you have priority grass move and 2 ground type for Zacian.
I believe so, and I think Tid.
Then again,
Yeah. I think he heard you. I think we have some kind of psychic connection going on here. But Rillaboom is the choice Pokemon to come out here, access to priority moves and Fake Out and Grassy Glide, but also that Q tech of high horsepower for any Zacian matchups. And ooh, we're gonna see Gigantamax Rillaboom here.
Big Baboon.
Big Baboon indeed. We're ready for the nice drum solo to bless us with its beautiful drum solo. Let's go.
Honestly, like, too bad Flip is not here because he's a drum player, so he could have give us his impression about it.
No, definitely. You know what? It makes me want to nickname a Rillaboom Phil Collins because every time it just Gigantamaxes, it gets a nice drum set in front of it. So.
Yeah.
But let's see. But let's see if the Kyogre is going to feel the grassy, the Gigantamax drum solo in the air tonight. Because I'm pretty sure that was the target for its attack. We'll see soon.
Definitely, like, he's in the air tonight because Rillaboom Gigantamax is really used. So the solo will come from the air.
Alright, now this turn. The Incineroar swap was kind of risky because it did boost up the Thunderous with the Defiant ability. It still sucks in that attack. Thunderous goes down, it did its job. If you're Matt, you're okay with that. The G-Max drum solo coming through, picks up the KO. Oh, does it? It lived!
With the Max Hailstorm.
Max Hailstorm coming in here. It's going to remove the rain for Kyogre, reducing the damage output from its water attacks, but does go for the super effective damage on the Rillaboom and also create some residual damage. But what's good about the hail here is that we get to see the turn order. Yes, you're right. Kyogre goes down from the hail that it's set up on its own, but now we see that the Rillaboom, well, mind you, it's kind of redundant now, but would have been faster than both Mons on Ryan's side of the field.
True. And now Matt still has his last ready up for the get-go.
Yep. And Incineroar not being the fastest Pokemon around is going to be acting last. Zacian on Ryan's side of the field is at very dangerously low health. It could pretty much come down to a speed tie, don't you find?
Yeah, but at the same time, Rillaboom still has access to Grassy Glide. Zacian before it does anything.
Exactly. So do you think?
Oh no, but it's a drum solo. True, it's not Grassy.
Exactly. So I don't know. Like obviously, I think the Zacian's going to go first. I wonder if a Behemoth Blade will be enough to pick up the KO here. He needs to pick up the KO here, or else it's just not going to look good for him.
Just Fake Out with Incineroar.
So Incineroar basically guaranteeing that Ryan's Zacian goes through. Behemoth Blade coming in here. Is it enough to get the KO? And it does.
Wow.
So now, Now this is a very, very interesting spot because, I mean, so if you're Matt, who do you target? Do you target the Incineroar that has access to Flare Blitz, or do you target the Zacian who's got pretty much good damaging attacks versus you?
Honestly, I don't have an impression, but I'll go with Incineroar because he's the one who can do massive damage, and Zacian is almost dead. So at that point, it depends who is faster as well.
I agree, and the grass terrain is neutralizing the damage output from the hail. Sacred Sword coming in here, picks up the KO on the Incineroar, reducing any chances of Flare Blitzes going through. Zacian going for the Behemoth Blade, which should do neutral damage on Matt's Zacian, but is it enough to pick up the KO? Oh, and it does not. It holds on.
A little bit more damage into hail could have finished him up, but
And what we notice about the hail and the grassy terrain is that Matt's Zacian is much faster than Ryan's, and that means that it should be going first versus Ryan's, and kind of ensuring the win here. But let's see if that happens.
attack miss and stuff like that could always happen. So
Exactly. This is Pokemon after all. We roll with the RNG.
oh, and it used Protect.
Trying to see if maybe it truly is a speed win for Matt's side, or if it's always just losses from speed ties. But as the turns go on, and as we see how the turn resolves with hail damage and with grassy terrain recovery, it seems like as if Matt's Zacian is truly faster than Ryan's Zacian, which means that the attack will go first.
Then again, RNG is possible, but no, Matt clears it with the win.
And this will get the KO on Ryan Zacian, picking up the win for Matt with a 2-1 set. What a round 5, Martin. What a round 5.